Welcome back, everybody. Today we have a fun pick a card set out for you. Very interesting and very fascinating. So today's pick a card session, as you already read the title, is what does your future self have to say to you today? What messages are coming from your future self for wealth, health, abundance, love, happiness, or whatever applies specifically to you? So we have 3 different piles. Just choose the pile that is intuitive to you. Don't think about it. Go with whatever is the first one. But I know y'all gonna do what y'all gonna do anyway, which is choose as many as you want. So I'm gonna give you a second to review the piles and just choose which one you like the most. Here are your 3 options. Choose whichever one is calling out to you. I'll give you a couple seconds. Go, let me see it. 0. So if you chose this deck, you chose the Fortune Tarot. And so let's just begin by channeling. Thank you, universe, for the opportunity to have this moment. Please bring messages of wealth, health, abundance, gratitude, romance, or whatever applies to you. Please bring these messages in a clear and concise way so that they be for the highest vibrational good only, connecting to the energetic helpers, ancestor, spirit guides, and all that may apply. We are so grateful for this opportunity. Ashe. Okay. So, first of all, messages from the future self. I'm kind of getting this fun, whimsical kind of play thing. I don't know if you're a little bit, how do I say this in a nice way? Tightly wound. Hopefully you're not too tightly wound, but basically it's just saying that you're in the future not going to be so tough on yourself, not put yourself in situations where you're just overly critical. And you know what? The funny thing about that is that most people who have regrets on the experiences that they experienced in life, a lot of them regret the way they treated themselves. So this is literally your future self just being in line with that. But let's see if there's any specific messages. Okay, first one out is the King of Pentacles. Now, baby, if you were in some situation right now where you're just worried about how money is going to fare out or how it's going to work out, your future self is saying it's going to be okay. Now, I'm not 100% sure that means that you are going to be a millionaire or a billionaire, which I hope that is the case. Holla at your girl, don't forget about me. But it is indicating that the thing that is happening to you mentally that makes you just feel so powerless and feel like, oh my gosh, I need to make money, I need to have this, I need to have that, or I think a better way to put it is not necessarily having that sense of security that you're looking for. It's basically sending a message that you will find security. So that means you might be much more reasonable in your, financial endeavors. And then at the same time, it also might mean that you have completely boosted your self-esteem, your self-confidence. Maybe you're making more rational decisions with money because people are emotional spenders, and honestly, that's what our entire society, capitalism is built off of. Everything is given a value based off of the perception. So if a lot of people perceive something to be valuable, look at the real estate. Like, a house is perceived to be more if the person who is selling the house can convince someone else to buy the house at a higher price. Then if you can get a couple of people to do that, that becomes, a comp. And then that comp can be used for a new person trying to sell their house to be able to sell that house to someone else. But what really changed about the house? We don't even know how the people who are going to move into the neighborhood really is going to bring the value of the house up. We don't. Most things about how at least this financial world or capitalism is based off of feelings. Same thing with the stock market. All of these companies are based off of the perception. People trading daily, it's based off of the perception. There are companies that stocks are steady, stocks might be declined, stock prices might be going up in their actual value. This is actually what happened to Amazon. So I'm still shuffling. I know, y'all, I know. At the end of the dot-com bubble, so for those who don't know about that, when the internet was first invented and the computer became something that was the personal computer, there was this rise in the 90s of businesses going online. It was the first time they were doing that. A lot of people were entering to the market. And so then the stock market, people who were investing in these companies or their ideas of these companies started to inflate the price of what these companies were actually worth. So around the 2000 time, when people start to realize that, like, okay, these companies actually don't have any assets. These companies are really more of like, it was kind of like a mania, the tulip mania is more of a mania than it is anything else. And people started pulling out, and then an entire bubble burst. But Amazon was very interesting because, Amazon has started off as like online retailer bookstore. Now, they at that time were buying up physical locations. So they were buying all of this real estate in places that weren't priced that expensive. They were able to kind of, streamline their retail process. But because of that, because of this residual of this .com boom, people were kind of thinking like, I don't know if this is really worth as much as it is, even though they were actually like investing in like physical things. They just weren't investing in a retail experience. The way that it was explained by Jeff Bezos was, you go to this high-end place, let's say LA, okay? You go to LA, you're paying top tier rent, but yet you can give people the same top tier quality experience online. You can go to somewhere like, let's say, South Carolina and have a whole warehouse there and be able to significantly cut the cost of what it would be. So maybe for those who are business minded out there, just basically saying that like the way that they were able to last for so long was because they were able to actually have something of value. So even though things changed, they had something of value. So your future self is sending a similar message, which is like, look, you are the value. You might feel worried about money. And believe me, there's things that people can do all the time about money. You can leverage yourself and learn new skills. When I say that, like, YouTube has so much free stuff, you can teach yourself how to do stuff. You might feel like you don't have the time. There's always some time. Even if you have 30 minutes a week and you're consistent, you make the most out of it, that will slowly get you towards something that can leverage you to give you more time to reskill. But at the end and you can save money, you can be much more frugal on how you spend things. Even if you don't have money, you can be much more frugal, much more like, okay, let me challenge myself and save 1% or save 2%. Okay, it feels like $20 right now, but give yourself 5 years. That might be the, little bit of money that you want to put together to start your passion project or your business or something that could have easily been spent. So I'm saying all of that to say is that the message from your future self that is coming across is this message of basically saying to you, you are the asset. You are what's valuable. You might be chasing all these things around you to find value, to make sure that you are secure, but you yourself are the security. You just being able to balance how you feel about yourself on the inside is the only thing that really matters. And then you'll actually start to enjoy life, or just kind of enjoy life for what it is and take the pressure off, because there's this sense of judgment that is just going on within you, or that you are perceiving in your external world, that sometimes people who feel this way feel like they're not where they should be. I should be this place. I should be that place. I'm not where I need to be. I'm always behind, or it's going to take me a long time, or I'm too old to start, or I don't have the access. People who think from the I can't and I can't do are the people who will make that happen. The people who think from the I will figure out how to make this happen are the people who figure it out. And I think it's the people who come from less than, the people who come from these strong, resilient stories that have lived a life where they had to figure out how to get to the point where when they see a good idea, they run with it. But the key difference of taking that ingenuity And running with it for a lot of people who come from less than situations is the self-confidence. Because if you come from a situation where you do not have money, then there is probably a sense of scarcity that you were raised with. Or, even if you were raised in like middle class or upper class, there's still that sense of scarcity. Or if you've had to spend a lot of your life trying to prove something to someone else, things like that, that gets in the way of just having a good idea. And this is basically saying the Nine of Wands is sending this message of like, look, whatever you are willing to work for, you can make come into be. So if you have been thinking over the last couple years recently, something like that, where it's like, you're like, look, I got this idea. I just want to focus on this. Let me give you a cryptocurrency example. You might have been like never into like tech, blockchain, anything like that. And you're like, you know what? I think, wow, I just saw Bitcoin just rise. Like, I don't know shit about this, but I think I'm going to figure this out. Basically, like your future self is saying whatever you are willing to put into and have the effort to do, it will work out. Now, I'm not saying that it's like, oh, just because you had an idea that's enough. No, you have to go through the uncomfortable learning curve. Many people don't get through it. You have to go through the uncomfortable learning curve of really narrowing down what it is you need to know. I can give you an example from my own life. I knew that I wanted to share social spaces. I knew I wanted to be in that social space. In my IRL, I was planning things and planning groups and, doing things. I was a yoga teacher prior and doing these things. But what was the hardest thing about it was, it was a lot of overhead to have studio space rental. Getting people to come together, being able to provide the experience I want to, and then competing with like full-size studios and things like that. So for me, what I did was I was like, okay, well, I love things online. How can I build this community online to talk about the things that I love to talk about, which is this mysticism, the history, systemic things, and how we can have a very interesting relationship with the universe and, the kind of uncovered history from past traditions and lineages that really lend to the practices that we use today. And so I just grinded it out. Literally just grinded it out from 0 people watching, to a couple of people watching to, thousands of people watching. And then I just, passed the 100,000 milestone. And then on TikTok, it's like 400,000 people. It really is the amount of effort you're willing to put in, but it didn't take away from you're doing something before you can actually do it. It didn't take away from it's like the sense of self-doubt that can definitely happen while you're in that growth phase. But just know that when a plant is growing under the soil, the roots are still growing. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not growing. And the longer you let those roots grow under the soil, the stronger and more sturdier and the faster that the stem and the stalk can grow once it gets up there. So everyone's always in a rush to feel like, okay, I want this to happen next month, the next year, even 5 years. Maybe your dream is something that will take 10 years. So let it take 10 years. There will be little milestones that happen, but not everything should be sensationalized to like winning the lottery. And I think that that's what your future self is trying to tell you. Like, calm the fuck down. You are the true value here. And that as you take time, you'll be easier on yourself. So instead of just plowing through the process, you start to enjoy the process. It starts to be fun. You start to pay attention to the connections you're making with people around you or the actual impact you have. It's all of these things. We have the King of Wands. So you make me want to pull some more cards, because we have the King of Pentacles and the King of Wands, meaning like that sense of security and that sense of finance is okay. You're going to get to that place where you feel like, okay, I have the security I need. And the King of Wands is sending off the message and the vibe that you do this because your actions align with what your goals are. So if your goal is to, back to the cryptocurrency thing, to figure out how to understand I don't know, blockchain. I don't know that shit. Blockchain. I don't know. And then you get intimidated or nervous, like, oh, there's all these smarter people. It's too late. You won't get to, or you won't feel that sense of security that you really want. But if you plow through and say, okay, well, maybe I'm the one who takes the longest to learn, but I know that if I'm persistent enough, I'm going to be able to get through. I mean, like, just stuff like that. And then you have this 3 of Cups energy, meaning like you need to surround yourself, and you are going to have people in your life that really support you and support your mental and emotional health balance. I cannot talk about this enough. Having mental and emotional help, if you're at a position where you feel like, oh, I need a little bit more support, reach out to mental health professionals, emotional health professionals, reach out to your community. People shouldn't have to do it alone. And because things are so digital nowadays, which makes it really nice for us to connect across the world, there's also a lot of isolation. Even when people are in chat rooms, think about it. When you're in front of somebody, you might think before you speak a little bit. Now, maybe that's not too good because you're not really speaking your truth, but sometimes that is good because people will say the craziest stuff online just because they can hide behind it. Now, here's the thing, that same issue is like, So it creates a hard time. It's like you live in these two worlds where it's like, wow, this complete stranger was so nice and so kind, which is 99.999% of my experience online. And then you get that 0.00001% of the weirdos. And if you're under a certain like category or you're perusing certain things, you're going to have more of them than usual. But I feel very lucky that I've been in like the ASMR scene. They're in general really, really nice people who just want to, be relaxed, and they kind of have that experience and that feeling. But this is saying that you are going to have that. You need this. What's coming off to me is a partner and a child, but I don't want you to think about it in the traditional way, though it could be that, having a partner and having a child. What I see it as is having someone that you feel like you can have a partnership with. It could even be in business. It could even be like a mastermind partner, stuff like that. And the child represents the mentor. So you have both the support on a lateral level, and then you are giving back on a vertical level. And it actually is less about having a mentor. It does not require you to have a mentor, even though you are mentoring. It's showing that as you rise and rise and rise, and you get to the point where you're looking up and you're like, okay, I think I'm, at the top. Then you start to realize how important it is to have those lateral partnerships and to have that network of people. That's what it's saying. Like, build your network up today. Build that up, because what you're great at, someone else could be great at another thing, but y'all together are like, and it doesn't even require y'all to, get into business with each other. It just could be a thinking partner, or it could be a life partner. It just depends. So it's saying that you're working hard, but you're not just working hard for yourself. You're working hard because you're going to be a part of a strong team, and you're also going to be able to show those who are behind you, those who are still on the grind, how to get to where you are, and to bridge the gap of, like, think about it. You had to do it on your own, and that's even relative to itself. Like, it's probably easier for you than if someone is available to explain things to you, even if it's asynchronous online, that means that is at least a bridge in a learning curve. So it was a little bit more accessible to you. And then once you get to another level, because you're learning it at a new time, and you can then share this wisdom with like the next generation of people, and generation not in age wise, but generation just people who are interested in it, then you bring in this new energy as well. Okay. So, energetic helpers. Any more messages? Because this seems very business wise. Again, don't forget to, send your girl some donations when you make it. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Thank you, universe. Thank you, ancestors. Please bring any additional messages that you would like to share with them to be able to bring these messages of wealth, health, abundance. Is there anything they should pay attention to? Is there anything that they should look out for? Is there anything that you want them to know from their future self? Is there a connection from the future self to send messages here? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to show you two things. This is not the first card I just pulled, but this is the second card, which is the Two of Cups, which is just, it really is reinforcing, like, the company you keep equates to your success. The company you keep equates to your success. You are the collection of the 3 or 5 most, I don't even know if people know 5 people like in their everyday life, but like, you are the collection of these 5 people. So it is very important that if you want to get to where you want to go, that you surround yourself by the people who are supporting you, but not even just supporting you, but going in the right direction. Because it doesn't always mean you need to be coddled. It doesn't always mean that you need to just have hard knocks. Just be around people with the growth mentality. I think that's good enough. Like, just having people who have a growth mentality, it's good enough. That means they're going to help you to be understanding during the tough times. You all are going to lean on each other. And then during the good times, they might tell you like, hey, enjoy this. You earned this. Second thing is the Star. And so with the Star, it's like you are front and center on this journey and this path, but it doesn't require you to be like a socialite or be, famous. I hope it requires you to be rich, but it doesn't require you to have this public scrutiny. It's just saying that like you stop competing with other people and you just start competing with yourself. Like, are you at a different place than where you were last year? And then keeping on upping it up. You got to get your Beyonce vibes in there because she ain't competing with nobody but herself. So just keep on upping it, keep on upping it. And then we have the Devil card. So if there's anything that is going to get in your way, it is going to be your vices. I want you to think about internal vices. So if the example I just gave was this cryptocurrency, blockchain, something, whatever, I'm not talking about you, having a sugar craving. What I'm saying is like, what is it that you tell yourself when you're going about something that you believe is true? Oh, this is for someone else. Oh, sometimes something is not even that hard, but the lack of emotional and mental support or just learning how to be supportive to oneself is really make or break. People who are the most confident and know nothing about nothing really get far. And I don't mean arrogant. I don't mean narcissistic. I just mean like secure in their own self-identity when it comes to approaching whatever it is they want to approach. Get farther because they're not worried about what the fuck other people are thinking. They're not worried about, I made this one mistake. They're not worried about any of that. They're just worried about going on this path. And if they can be consistent, they're good. So a lot of people, unfortunately, didn't have that situation. They were not taught to have really balanced emotional and mental well-being. Now, they may have been taught in one area, but in other areas, maybe not so much. So if you have that where you feel like really good in one area, then learn how to pull that into the other areas. If you don't have it, you really have to reparent yourself. It just is what it is. It's like breaking a habit. You do something over and over and over and over again. It's going to feel uncomfortable to break it. So what that means is maybe you're able to study for 2 hours a day, but you know that mentally and emotionally you start to question yourself after 30 minutes. Well, study for 35 minutes a day. So give yourself that 5 minutes of uncomfortable buffer. And then as you go on, because it's going to take you a while to learn anyway, just continue to grow. Even though you could be at the 2 hour mark, why force yourself to be at 2 hours? You're probably going to hit a curve where you stop learning and then you're just freaked out by it. Let it be a positive experience. It's going to be challenging, but just keep on going at that. Any other messages? 8 of Pentacles. Sending the same vibe. Work hard. Give me 2 more, universe. I appreciate you. Love you. Queen of Wands. everything about the emotional well-being of action, which we were just talking about. Give me something final. Yeah. I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry. And then we have the Sun card. This is actually really fascinating and now has just thrown me for a loop, because the Star is saying the growth of it is you don't have to be in front of people. It's not a big deal. People don't have to see like you reach these milestones. All you need to know is that you are reaching these milestones. But the Sun is sending something different. The Sun is saying that this is you, okay? This is you, future self. The Sun is saying once you arrive, you have arrived. And you're going to feel fantabulous about it. You're going to feel fucking fantastic about it. So this is the highest part of you looking back and saying, hey, this is what you should do. I mean, just think about it now. Like, look at yourself in the past, a year, 5 years, 10 years ago. What would you say to that person you were then that is drastically probably different than who you are today? You're going to be from an elevated perspective. You're going to be like, you know what? You should have just kept on working at it. It would have worked out, because you can see it. You have like that ability to have hindsight. But here it is, you are today. Here it is, you are today. So everything that has to do with confidence, insecurity, it's like, think about it from the perspective of Taurus. Taurus is about self-worth, okay? Self-worth can be what? It can be financial. What do you own? What do you have? What is the actual monetary value, money, things like that, your worth? And it's also internal. How do you feel about yourself? What are the things you say to yourself? What is the confidence that you have? Now, focusing on one or the other probably isn't going to work, but having a combination of the two is really key. Taurus also brings this energy of being frugal, being practical is probably the better way to put it, of being practical about how you spend your money. So if you feel a little bit insecure about something, you might overspend in order to compensate for that. Sometimes people do it with their body image, so they overpay for, all of these things when they could be saving money there. So just going in and doing the hard work of being able to, balance this out, just balance this out, just, use that little 5-minute buffer and turn it into 7, turn it into 10, turn it into 15, turn it into 20, which requires patience. Nobody wants patience. We live in a very, very quick world. And we're able to have things instantly. And just that bit of patience is all that really matters for you to ultimately be successful. And to bridge the gap of that energy that you're feeling, that confidence that you're feeling. Okay. Well, let me know how this read was for you. Go ahead and share in the comment section. You never know how your experience will change the life of someone else, or just make you feel better to just write it out and connect with yourself. Also, if you could say something to yourself 10 years ago, what would you say? Just getting it from that same perspective. I'm excited for you. Can't wait to our next time. See you in the moon cycle reading. And also we have extended reads. So if you look down in the description box, there is a link for the Patreon community, is the Reiki Healing Hope Patreon community. And there's a Array Tarot tier. I believe in financial accessibility. So if you want to join the Reiki Healing Hope group, you're going to be able to get all the Array Tarot videos. Or if you just want Array Tarot, you can get the Array Tarot videos there. It's all the same price. It is $3.33 a month. You cannot beat that with a bat. And what do you get from that? You get weekly card pulls based off of your sign. So Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. Every week, baby. Every week. We're going to see what's happening that following week. And that's a great way to support the community, support the channel, and to be connected with that energy. So head on over there. You're not going to tell me you can beat that price anywhere. Okay. And the Reiki Healing Hope tier is for people who are developing their mystical abilities, depending on whatever lineage that they're coming from, a place of exploration, learning, and community. So if you want to join that, you can join that too. Okay. Well, I will see you next time. So if you chose this deck, this is your reading. This is the message from your future self. What is this deck? Lady Tarot. Lady Tarot? Yes, Lady Tarot. I was like, this is Lady Tarot. I don't know why I'm asking what this deck is. So if you chose this is your reading. Let's go ahead and begin by channeling. Okay. Thank you, universe, for the opportunity to read on behalf of you. Appreciating these, sorry, a card is just trying to fly out. Appreciating these messages of health, wealth, abundance, gratitude, romance, and all for the highest vibrational good only. Please bring this message of wealth, health, and abundance in a clear and concise way so that they may be able to understand what's going on and to pull this message for their highest vibrational good. Please send a message from their future self to their current self that will help them through this journey. We are so appreciative, connecting us to the archangels, ancestors, spirit guides, and all applicable. Thank you, 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 thank you. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's do this. So your first card you have is the Hierophant. So are you going on like a spiritual journey, a mystical journey? Okay, side note here. So people who are going on this journey, this spiritual journey, which could end up being like you want to do things that are more into divination, or you're doing things in vibrational medicine, like being a healer, or a combination of all of these things. There's two worlds that are merged together. That is the physical practice of using these mystical things. Also, this is the spiritual practice. So what is your relationship with the universe, God, whatever you want to call this energy? And some people actually stick to a traditional understanding of the universe. So they might be religious, they might come from a certain religious tradition, and they still just explore the mystical aspects of how do we utilize these things that maybe science hasn't caught up to yet. And then other people go on another, experience, vice versa. And for them, it is like, okay, well, you know what? If this is invisible, well, let me see what this opening is for me. Let me see past what I just learned growing up, all this stuff. So the Hierophant is who you are in the future. So you are going on this, I'm going to use the word spiritual or mystical journey in order to, I feel like, develop your abilities, or to just have a clear relationship with the universe, a clear channel, just to feel at one. I don't know if any of you have had, I will say, religious persecution. What I mean by this is like you found that religion was used in a way to suppress you. People who are in the LGBTQIA continuum community know exactly what I'm talking about, where religion can be used to suppress. So here there are all these great, beautiful stories, these allegorical stories that we see across many traditions. And then in their particular lineage, they have these beautiful stories. And then the same people will go and do, discriminatory things against them. And then it causes them to have this tough relationship with their understanding of God or universe or source or whatever it is you believe in. It's, it just depends on the person. And being able to separate the religion from the spiritual aspect is something that becomes important for, a person on this kind of journey, where it's like the universe, God, source, whatever you believe in is less about the religion. Religion is the rules and the traditions. It's very, anthropological and sociological more than anything, because it is just a collection of rules, beliefs that a group has together, and how the group polices each other. And for some, they don't see it as a problem. They're like, okay, this is just us honoring our lineage. And for others that maybe haven't fared out as well, they see it as well, because people will tell them, you know, God doesn't love you, or, you know, God is disappointed in you. God always loves you, but God is disappointed in you, or something like that. How this relationship with a, you know, higher source, or whatever it is you believe in, is weaponized in order to get people to believe in a certain lineage. And you see this throughout history of like colonization and stuff like that. So this person is from a place of just having this awakening. I feel like is the best way. I wanted to say spiritual revolution, but this awakening on the inside, this freeing. You're looking for a sense of freedom. You feel like you've been like suppressed, and even if it's not something that you feel like is religiously, you just always saw that, maybe you didn't care as much, it didn't, you know, impact you as much, but just this sense of suppression, and you want this freedom. You're like trying to bust up out the seams. You're like, I'm here. And you really want to connect more into the universe in that kind of way. So we have the Death card. Again, this awakening. It is the dying off of who you used to be, of who you thought you were going to be, to awaken to the person that you are destined to be. This energy that is completely balanced with feeling the universe and accessing a relationship with God, source, whatever you are, you know, you feel comfortable with. That's your business and your journey. And it's just a learning of letting go. You know, I see this often where people will have an elderly family member who is clearly suffering. Okay. It's not that they were just having a vibrant life. They're clearly suffering. They might have several diseases, and it's a part of the process of aging. And that person is near death and they're uncomfortable, and people will want to do everything to save them. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that there is one way or another, because everything is unique. I'll just speak from what I have seen. But then never ask that person, what exactly do they want? Never ask that, or, you know, never create an environment in which, okay, so we're going to do whatever to save this person, but we're also going to make this person as comfortable as possible, and group people together so that they visit them on a regular basis, so that they just, you know, even if they're in pain, they have a really good experience towards the end. No, they just feel bad. They don't want to see this elderly person pass, and then they go about their life and they don't show up. And heavens forbid that they are like, you know, embezzling their money, which is actually a real story I could get into on another story time. But I'm just saying that in a bit is almost like, you know, them not wanting to let go and understand that this is a process we all go through. I am not saying at all that people should not advocate for the best care. I'm just simply saying that, like, if someone is suffering and this is a decision that you and your family or someone else has made on behalf of this person, that means try their hardest, if it is possible, even if it means connecting to other people as well, to make sure that if they are going to stay in this physical experience, that they have a supported experience. You know, depending on where you live, there's plenty of programs in which people can qualify for, in which they can be able to get service. You know, there's a lot of senior neglect that happens, just so many ways, financially, physically, and things like that. So just set it up in that kind of way. And this is what I'm saying there is it's and I'm not trying to trigger anybody. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that it is an example of, like, it is a part of the process. Everyone, we all are one day, hopefully, you know, decades and decades and decades later, because there's so much of this wonderful life to live, decades and decades and decades later, going to go through that, you know, transition process from the physical into the energetic. And that is just a part of it. But being able to let go is, you know, really, really tough. Or think about it on a personal level, you know, if someone is nearing that, you know, being able to let go and go into that next level. Now, I think that's the conversation is really controversial in general. I am not saying that people should not seek the best medical care, or that things should not be done in the full power to be able to save people's lives and continue to advance medicine. I'm not saying that at all. I'm simply saying that it is a fact that people take advantage of the elderly, that people do not show up for the elderly, that people make these decisions and really don't reflect on how it's just them having a difficult time letting go. Again, I'm gonna say it one more time. Nobody is saying to pull the plug before anybody's time. Not saying that at all. Okay, just felt like I had to put that out as a disclaimer. I recently had a conversation with someone about that a couple of months ago, where they had a family member who was they were fine. They were an older person. They were fine, but it brought up, which is appropriate, like what happens if they need, if things don't go as planned. And so I asked them, I was like, did you ask the person what they wanted to do? And they were like, no, they're too old. They don't know what they want. And I was like, no, you need to consider what this person wants to do before making a decision that is going to impact them in general. And then, the group together, or however the dynamics is for that person, come together and just, do your best to have the best understanding. But really, it is all just a message of learning how to let go, in a metaphorical sense, the old way of things, and accepting this new, more vibrant sense of yourself, of belonging, of who you are, a rebirth at that. Because from an energetic perspective, when the soul transitions, it transitions in a kind of way in which you are no longer kind of plagued by the physical aspects. So when people have, like, they speak to mediums and stuff, and they're talking to loved ones who have transitioned, kind of a consensus of what happens is that for the people who are, like, let's say parents, like just really shitty parents, they, on an energetic level or a spirit level on the other side, now can see why it was hard for them. They were really pressed. They had all this suppression, and they unfortunately put it on their child too. And once they were able to, have that come off through that process, they can then go and validate, their child of like, wow, this is what I was going through, and you deserve this, and you deserve that, and da 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 da. It's a process that, everyone will go through, and different lineages believe different things. So whatever you feel most connected to is the only one that really matters for your for your going in your journey. Temperance is coming up too. And this is exactly what I'm talking about, where it's like making those balanced decisions, connecting to that balanced energy, making sure that the decisions that are being made are for the highest vibrational good. I gave the example with the senior care, the example with religion being used as a tool. And this is how I know someone's really cool, or someone is really balanced, where they can be a religious person and they can have a very strong practice of whatever their practice is, but then they make space for others to be different. And it doesn't mean that they have to believe the same thing. They just make space with it. They're not intimidated. They don't care what anybody else thinks. They already have a strong relationship with God, universe, or whatever it is they believe in. And so all they care about is just having a positive human experience with another person. And I think that's really beautiful. And I think that that's what your future self is telling you. You finally get to a place where you are so balanced that you release the internal freedom. So everything outside of you then becomes perceived as more free. And you are that bridge. You never know. You never know the people who literally are suffering from, feeling like they don't belong, or they aren't allowed in a place or something like that. And then you are the reason why it becomes accessible to them, simply by who you are, simply by going on the path, simply by giving yourself your own openness and freedom going into this. And then the 5 of Cups. There is this feeling along the process of looking at what didn't work rather than looking at what you do have and what you should build towards. So don't get caught up in those moments of every time you did something wrong and thinking and using that as validation to not go forward and have a new path or do something new. It happens. Who can't think about something cringeworthy from way back when, could even be last week that happened, and okay, it happened. Okay. And just you got to let it go, because sometimes the other individuals involved don't even realize that they're too busy having their own cringeworthy moment. We're all pretty much the same. We're all pretty much thinking about it from the perspective of like, oh gosh, really messed up there. I hope no one remembers that. And the next person is doing the same thing. They don't remember your shit. They don't got time to remember your shit. They worried about their own shit. Okay, everybody is like doing this. And it's really like, focus on the things that are working out for you. And the Two of Swords, during this path, you may feel like it's almost like an initiation, like you're being kind of led into a direction, but you don't really know what to do, but you can't use the physical aspects. It's not about like rationale. It's more about the veil, behind the veil, very Piscean kind of energy going on there, where it's like making a decision with the highest energetic knowledge. I wouldn't even just say your feelings. I would say the higher self, the highest energetic knowledge of this is the right thing to do. This is the way to make peace. Think about it. There are many people who have a very strong relationship with their spiritual path, and they just feel like for example, if you might be witchy, you really love it, you feel like you learned so much, but you might feel like, okay, someone's going to think that, you're a weirdo or something like that. So you don't want to share it. So you hide it from yourself. And really at the end of the day, it's like getting to that Hierophant status is saying like, I love this. This gives me a great connection to, whatever it is that you're believing in. And I'm just going to put it in the forefront. And you know what you do? You free other people who are on that path too. It destigmatizes a lot of the ignorance that are really so surmounted on some of these traditional practices all across the world, never questioning the fact that a lot of this stigma was built out of colonization. When things were being conquered, a group who did not understand, the traditions and the lineages of a place would then come and look and deem it as negative and paganistic and demonistic and stuff like that, simply because they didn't understand. And that same energy is still residual to today. And so I'm telling you this because that's a lot of what I spend a lot of my time doing, which is the uncovering of the things of the past in order to, have a better understanding, but to look at it from a systemic perspective too. Can you imagine if you felt so connected to something, right? And you had been suppressing yourself for so long because of what you felt like would not be socially acceptable or what people have actually said to you. And then come to find out that perception was built off of systemic issues, systemic inequity. You're probably going to feel like, wow, why did I feel so bad? Now, don't get me wrong. You're still probably going to be against the opposite of a large group, because a lot of times what I see in various religious traditions, and I noticed this a lot. I majored in religious studies. I noticed this a lot, that the people who do not research, the people who aren't like scholars, and it doesn't even mean you have to be like an academic scholar. It's just like, they just kind of like do whatever whoever the leader in front is saying, which is not negative to them. I'm just saying like, which is a large majority of people generally think because a large group of them, believe something, that it is the case. And that is called mob mentality. Can be a cult mentality, that can be scapegoating, that can be a lot of stuff, but you are at a place in your life which is much different. You're like, I'm free from that. And you're just trying to find what really is the connection for you. A little tip I will give you is that you might find some lineages, some traditions, some paths that really connect with you. Don't feel like you have to limit yourself to one, or you have to suppress the whole experience of like, oh, been waiting your whole life to finally find this one thing. No, sometimes things move. Sometimes you like this and then you like that and da 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 da. And I would always say start with the history, because jumping into something just to look the part but not really understand what's going on is probably not going to be as helpful in the spiritual path as you think. So always start with the history and getting the history from those who are closest to the tradition rather than outsiders looking at the perspective. Oh, look at you. I don't know. You're giving me leader vibes. I don't know. So whatever the tradition, the modality that you end up going into, you're going to do it really, really well. Like, because you go on this journey, because you really do let go and you free yourself and you just kind of accept being in this new experience, having this awakening, you are then going to be seen as other people as an ally. And it doesn't have to be, I don't even say an ally. Let's say advocate. I really like the use of the word advocate. But you're going to be seen as like a mentor kind of. And I just don't even feel like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, and you're going to have a TV show and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. I think from an astrological perspective, I think that when Uranus, was in Aries, we had a lot of that, but I don't think socialite stuff, I don't think that that's really what's important. I think that you will make an impact in the spaces that you need to make an impact in. And that could be financial compensation. That doesn't have to be this like, out in the world kind of thing. All the time I think to myself, I'm like, look, I love connecting with people who share this space, who need a nice, safe, facilitated space to be able to have these conversations in various ways. But I don't need to be in front of too many people. I don't need to, not all publicity is good publicity. I don't need to trend just because trending is trending. No, I just need to be with the right community of people who want to have these conversations and who are going on this experience themselves. It's not necessary. It's not necessary to make the impact that you want to make. And then the Page of Pentacles. There's something right now in which you are going about your sense of both the way you make money and your sense of self-worth in a very new way. Very, very new way. I think this awakening is coming with even a career change, even a way of how you go about things. And things can be philosophical too. So if it is a situation in which intellectually, from your highest thoughts, it's changed. Maybe you decide you don't want to work in like a kind of a 9-to-5 kind of situation, or whatever your specific hours are, in which you're working hourly or even you're working salaried and you don't feel like you're making an impact. Maybe you feel like, okay, you're looking for more ways to free yourself, so financial freedom, intellectual property. You just start thinking from outside of the box, where the people around you are like, no, get a good job, be there 30 years, which is not the case anymore. Many people don't do that, and a lot of businesses aren't set up in the way that they used to be set up back in the day to do that. Some places, the really big institutions, yeah, you can do that, but like that of course comes with its politics within itself. You just feel like free. You're like, no, like you're thinking about things in a new conventional way. If you already have something that you're doing full time, you're thinking about something on the side to really feed into this path. You want to take people on nature walks. You want to connect people with forage cooking, just whatever it is that you are interested in on your journey right now. You want to connect people with that, and that's a part of it. And then we have the Seven of Pentacles, which we were just talking about, this garden, growing, just growing, watering yourself daily. And the more you can disconnect from the mentalities of what was limiting for you and kind of surround yourself by at least yourself or others too, who share that. Early in your journey, it's kind of like you're walking by yourself a little bit, but you might notice that there's a freedom there, that like once you start seeing those first couple of plants grow, you start to feel different. You start to feel more at peace, in a space where you were in a room that had no garden, and now you have a room that is full of plants, but you just just feel different. The energy's different, I mean, from a scientific perspective, you have plants in the space, and the plants are interacting with the air, and so that's different. Plants are vibrating. Everything has a vibration, but plants are a living thing, so it's going to impact the environment too. I mean, they talk about putting a plant on top of a router and how it kills the plants. So basically, just being in spaces that have shifts in vibrational frequencies can impact you in a very positive way as you're going on this journey. So let's get this last bit of information. Universe, spirit guides, ancestors, bringing any additional messages for them to help them on their journey as they are going to this greater self, this greater knowledge, this greater wisdom, this greater sense of all things. Okay. So the first card that really came out was the Tower card. And the Tower card is basically saying that things typically fall apart before they fall together. But I heard a really good saying the other week where it's did it fall apart or did it fall together? You know what I'm trying to say? You need me to run it back a little bit? Did it fall apart or did it fall together? You're building up a structure, but really what you need is to repurpose these pieces in a new way that actually fits you. So there's a bit of falling apart. So when you step outside of a system, example, a religious system, you might have been close to these people your entire life. That is your childhood, your upbringing. You take a separation back. But you lose things. You lose the community. You lose your routine. You lose all of those things. But then you take the best that you could from that, infuse it in what you're learning for a higher vibrational good, and then build up a new space where you have new community. You're bringing the best from what you had in the previous space, and it just grows. It just grows into something greater and larger. But it only happened because this fell apart or fell into place. And that's just a part of the process. It really is a part of the process. And then you have the Queen of Pentacles. So this is giving it a feeling of in order to have that sense of security, in order to have that sense of financial security, you will be someone who brings people a lot of emotional balance. Just being in your present is going to make them feel better about a lot of things. So if you were in a particular, let's say, give an example, corporate environment, or it doesn't even have to be corporate. It could be 9 to 5, kind of hospitality. Oh, that's a good one. Say you're in a hospitality environment. Y'all know how hospitality is. People are rude as fuck for no fucking reason. And it's just no one cares that you're on your feet all day. They don't even care if you're sick. They still want you to come in. There's just a general disregard for good health, in general. But because you come from that environment and you let it all go, you let it, fall into place, then you can create an environment in the future where it's because you've had that extreme opposite, you can then show people how to be balanced. So then when you're working with people, if they're sick, you'd be okay, take the days you need. Do you want to do work? You don't want to do work? Okay. Just let me know. Just check in with this. And then you plan into what you want, to accommodate in a new way. And it takes having to experience that. You could look at it as being a parent. Some pretty excellent parents come from people who didn't have good parents. And you could not have a good parent, and then you can also not be a good parent. But if you're one of these people, you're going on this journey of wanting to have more than perhaps what you were given. So that deficit of what you didn't get then becomes something that you understand the need for it to be in this example of parenting. So one of the parents was absent. So you make sure that you are available because you understand how that impacts. Can you imagine if you never had that situation? Maybe the person had parents who was, they're in their life, but for some reason they just kind of, got into a little bit of issues, and then they had kids, but they didn't think it was going to be a problem that they weren't around because they never saw the impact of them being absent because they had people who were available in their life. But because you know how it feels to have somebody absent or somebody who is kind of sorry, don't want to use the word abusive, but just didn't treat you the way that they should have treated you, you then understand the need to bring that into the environment, and it creates an opportunity to give what you didn't have access to. And finally, the judgment card. You don't have to worry about anybody else except for yourself. That's it. You don't have to worry about anybody else except for yourself. This spiritual journey, this energetic journey, if you're going and you're developing your gifts and stuff like that, this is about you. This is not about how other people are seeing you do it. Even when you go into certain lineages you're trying to learn and it just doesn't vibe with you, fucking leave that shit and go somewhere else. It's okay. It's not about what other people think. It's a shift on the inside. It's a freedom coming from there. It's what you believe in your own experience and your own understanding of going after this in your journey. And it is what it is. Well, I hope you enjoyed this reading specifically for you because you are going on this journey. I have extended reads for Array Tarot, but more than that, what I'm trying to explain to you is the link for the Patreon for extended reads is under Reiki Healing Hope. And this is what I do. I work with people to develop their abilities to be able to go into their various traditions. It is a community. It is collective energy. And I believe in financial accessibility. It is only $3.33 a month. So if you want to just go and get the extended reads for Array Tarot, which is weekly card pull sessions for your signs, Aries all the way to Pisces, you could have that. But for the same price, $3.33, I make it very accessible because I believe in community, y'all. I believe in community. You can have that, and you could be a part of the Reiki Healing Hope community where people are going and doing that work, and we have different themes, and we, look at different lineages, and we, look at these mystical and metaphysical conversations during that. That is available and accessible to you. So that is all a link in the description box. But just know that, hey, you're going on this journey, and you get to define how it is. So go ahead and share your experience in the comment section. You never know whose life you could change by sharing it. And honestly, you might feel better. You could change your own life by feeling better. You could even think it and take it a little bit further. What would you have to say to your own self, 10 years ago versus, how you feel now? Because that makes it easier to receive the messages from your future self coming to you now, because you're even in a perspective or a headspace of wow, look how far I got now. Wow, look how far I'm going to go then. It really shows you the power of this moment and the power of now. But I'm really excited. Cannot wait to see you next time. Bye. If you chose this pile, you chose the Modern Witch deck. So let's look to see what the message is from your future self. We're going to start with some channeling. Thank you, universe, for the opportunity to channel on behalf of you. We really appreciate these messages of wealth, health, abundance, happiness, love, life, and all of these beautiful things. Please bring these messages in a clear and concise way so that they understand what they can do, what they should do, and help them have some things that they can use along their path. We connect to the ancestor spirit guides, archangels, lineage, and all that apply. We don't take it for granted the opportunity to be in this space. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Okay. Let's see what your future self has to say. Okay, I'm going to say something. Say something. Judgment is your first card. It actually came out in reverse. I'm going to say this. Every read for the future self has pulled the Judgment card. So, because it pulled with you all, I'm going to really emphasize this. The general consensus of the future self, the future energy coming back into this energy is saying, be nicer to yourself. Have less judgment on yourself. Be able to kind of give yourself some freedom or some fluidity in how you do things. Really, the overwhelming message, no matter what it was, is wow, just be nicer to yourself. Just take the pressure off yourself. Don't feel like you need to be perfect and everything has to be perfectly wrapped up in a bow and things like that. But that's it. And it was in reverse for you. So it's sending this message that you are freeing yourself from that limiting pressure that you feel on a daily basis. And I think that comes with, first things first, you start noticing how often people do it to themselves. People who free themselves from self-judgment, self-doubt, they probably have been around people with a lot of self-judgment and a lot of self-doubt. And so once they start to free themselves, other people will do one of two things. They will take it as an attack, or they will work towards freeing themselves too. And the toughest thing about this transition is sometimes the people closest to you take it as an attack. They don't free themselves with you, and you feel bad because, who doesn't feel bad for those kind of things? But then the people that maybe not are as close to you, maybe it's better or healthier boundaries, want to grow with you and see that as inspiration. And that is the community, and that is the mentality, and that is the growth mentality that you should focus on. And you have to learn how to let go of the people who are stuck in judgment, because unfortunately you can love people so much. It can be partnerships, it can be friendships, it can be family. It runs rampant in family, child. You can love them so much, and they could really genuinely love you. But a part of the connection between you two is judgment. So they constantly are judging you. Or the moment that you decide to leave the loop that they have going on, that you all have going on together, then the judgment starts. Because at the entire time, the power that they felt like they had towards, the energy was judgment. So if that's all they know, they don't know growth mentality, they only know judgment. The issue that comes up is that that's the only power they have. So they don't want to be extra judgy to you. But once you leave that loop, look, you're going to be scapegoated. You're going to be, they're going to be mean girling you. This going to be a mob mentality. It is all of these things simply because you decide to move in a new direction, which I think people should be able to do, and it shouldn't be an issue, but it happens. It happens. It happens. When you get older, you have less people around you, less friends, or you're less likely to tolerate certain family members, or certain types of partnerships. Your next would be the 9 of Wands. You remember times where you were good at something, but you didn't live it out to its full potential. You feel like if you had lived it out to its full potential, it would have worked. So the message from your future self is saying learn from your past. Learn from all of those moments that you had a really good and great idea, but you didn't take it to its full fruition. Because if you do not recognize that, you stay in the same pattern, you're going to stay where you continue to stay. But this is really a very introspective messaging coming from the future, basically saying hey, this is the wake-up call. Break the cycle, and go in the direction you would like to go in. King of Cups in reverse. Same thing. Let me see. All your cards are in reverse. King of Cups in reverse, sending the same message of many times where you had times where you could have better emotional boundaries. Perhaps somebody treated you not so well, or maybe you were in an enmeshment with someone, or as they like to say, entanglement, but I'll say enmeshment. Because it doesn't have to always be romantic, but it is very much so. This is very strongly rooted towards your relations with other people. You may have been in an enmeshment with someone else, and you knew you got to get the fuck out this bitch. Okay, you got to go, but you couldn't let yourself go. You didn't listen to your highest self, the self that knew the most, the king of your mentality. You didn't listen. And because you didn't listen, you saw that moment as scary and oh, you don't want to feel uncomfortable, but then not realizing that the moment really was an opportunity to free you. And sometimes freedom in a situation that may be toxic for you might look uncomfortable, might look like the Tower card or something like that, but it really is just to free you. Same thing with the Queen of Cups. You know, you didn't want to let go of how you felt about the situation. You didn't want to let go of it. It's not even seen in a negative way. If you love somebody, people are in your life because you love them. Who rationally wants to let go of the people that they love? You're always hoping that they're going to grow with you. But you're at a time where, unfortunately, some people are not going to grow with you, especially if they're older, especially if they're family kind of situations. Child, some of them people will not grow with you and will be upset that you are still not the same person you were when you were 5. You might be the youngest person in your family and now you're 40 something and people are still sunning you. You have a whole career. You're doing better than other people and they still put you in this hierarchy rank and you break the rank and that bothers them. This is actually what happens often where people will be in this family structure, this family situation. It can happen in groups too. They'll be in this family or this group situation. And as soon as someone breaks rank and says, no, treat me this way, treat me by the amount of, where I really need to be at. A lot of people in that scenario might have had poor behavior or might have been able to get away with things. So someone, your cousin over here who always is the one who gets away with the most, people will go and subsidize their life. When you're like, you step out of rank and you start saying like, you know what, I built my life, da 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 blah 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 blah. Then so-and-so out of here gets pissed off because even though what you're talking about has nothing to do with them, they then see it as an attack because if you built your life, then the people who are subsidizing their life could then, feel like they hold this person accountable. And they're feeling like, whoa, life already happened. This is good. This is my, my balance ground. And then even sometimes that person may not say nothing. The people in the group might say something, might throw it out of balance because they feel so bad for so-and-so. They've been giving them money every month. But if they see how you worked your way from the bottom all the way to the top, then it puts them in an uncomfortable situation. It makes them think like, why weren't I as connected to seeing that this person could have done it too? Why did I coddle this person? All kinds of things, child. All kinds of, look, y'all, you fucking know what I'm talking about. People will run over people if they let them. One more tangent. Someone will be bullied once in their life, will go on to be a bully for the rest of their life, still talking about this one time they were bullied and never hold themselves accountable for their bullying. It amazes me. It really does. The lack of self-awareness is always interesting. Page of Wands. Every time that you wanted to break free, you wanted to go in a new direction, it was very difficult for you. It was very tough. You're really just reflecting on everything before, because this is actually like the calm before the storm. The storm will shake it up and then you have to let things fall into place. Things are not falling apart. Things are falling into place. So you are lucky, because now you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, this is happening. You're going to get okay. So the universe always warned me. This is how the universe works. They warn you quietly. The universe warns quietly, loud, shock and awe. And then you get into this next vibrational path or this vibrational experience. So you're a lucky one in that you get to start making plans now of how you want to pivot and how you want to let things go. And then the reverse of Five of Wands, you are not, if this is more work related and you see these dynamics in a working situation, you are not fighting anybody anymore. You are not going to be just in this weird competition with people for no fucking reason. The weird political shit that happens at work. You are not fighting anybody anymore. You don't mind working hard with other people and fighting for something that you want, to see to come to be. But you can't waste your time and distract yourself anymore by just fighting for the sake of fighting. It just doesn't fit you anymore. It just doesn't fit what you need. You're just at a different space, and your future self is saying to you like, hey, this shit is getting old for you. Like, you're not vibing with it anymore. You don't care what so and so and Cindy Lou is doing and shit. You just don't care. You don't care. That's what you notice, where people will still be talking about other people. You don't care anymore, and then they start questioning you, like, oh, you too good, or more of like, they don't even say like you're too good, they say like, is something wrong with you? You just seem real off. You seem real off, because they want you to recalibrate and continue to talk shit about somebody, or continue to be offended over something that really actually doesn't offend you, or to, pay attention to these minute things that really don't matter when there's bigger fish to fry. You just got bigger things. You really want to have a bigger life than the life that you had before. And you're changing. You're definitely changing. Please, universe, give me something that's right side up. Let me tell these people something that is right side up. Okay, this card was... I don't mean to laugh, y'all. I said, please, universe, give me something that is right side up. And this card just came out. And it is right side out. Right side up. But it is the Knight of Swords. So basically, as you are going through this transition, you are going to, this scene of like staying up late at night because you're stressed. It's going to be tough for you as you let toxic people go, toxic relationship, toxic dynamics. It's going to be tough. Sometimes the toughness is external, but I think more than anything, the toughness is internal, because when you build a habit of something that really is lower vibrational, really doesn't work out for you, or it has served its purpose, breaking that habit feels so scary, because everything in this world is uncertain. In the moments that we as a species can find something that we can add a little bit of certainty to, so-and-so is going to talk about so-and-so at work every time that you come in, or complain about this and that every time you come in, that gives this false sense of like, just to exhale, something to predict, because everything else is so unpredictable. Not realizing that if you do the hard work, which feels really uncomfortable, of breaking the habits of being surrounded by people like that, going into a different environment, going after an environment in a new way, yes, it feels uncomfortable, but then you start to notice so-and-so over in the corner who is always using their lunch break to learn something new. Because then you notice that, like, holy shit, I think this person is about to get this other role that you never thought that they could be able to do, but you just never saw them. They were doing that. Like, your eyes were narrowed into the patterns you were in. But once you start going into a new pattern, you'll see it. You might want to chill with so-and-so sometimes, because you're like, wow, I really like the way you think about that. And that inspires you. Things are shifting. It's going to feel uncomfortable at first, but it gets better. 8 of Cups in reverse. Don't lie to yourself and do the devil, where you feel like you can't move on from something because the ins and outs of this. What if it's even worse, or worse than that? Everybody's afraid to start at the bottom, not even knowing if, like, you go into a new scenario, like, the bottom is actually in an environment where people want to see you grow. They just assume that it's going to be their same dynamics, just somewhere else, which may not be the case. Go hang out with so-and-so in the corner and get your energy with their energy, so that you can go and make a more practical decision when you're going to a new place. Because when you're interviewing for new things, or even when you're meeting new friends, you can't off the bat always know, but there are always signs. There's always signs. Always signs. It doesn't mean that everything's going to be perfect. There's always signs. I got a good example. I started a career. Thank God, recently left my career in higher education. I was in higher education for 10 years. And I remember when I started working full-time, I started on a Mercury in retrograde. And at that point, I didn't like that, because what was happening was I knew the value I had, and people were constantly like ignoring me or lowballing me. And it was only these moments in which they thought of me as the second or third choice or something, was I being given an opportunity. And I did my shit. Like, I would work there for a couple years, and then I would always go to the next level, or I would go to the next level, or stuff like that. I would just hop around. But there was this one time where I applied for this role, and the interview went real well. It went real well. And someone who used to work at the same department was like, you don't want to go work for them. And I was just like, for real? And they pulled me into their office and was like, hey, I'm gonna have to keep it 1,000% real with you. You don't want to work for them. Da, 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 da. So that helped me with my mentality of how I was gonna go into it. But I talked to someone else and they were like, hey, you know what? I don't really know. It seems like this, but I don't gotta work with them in that kind of dynamics. Like you should probably pay attention to so and so who was telling me, right? And I was like, okay, well, I can get over on this. I could figure it out. And when they called me, I had thoughts before, like, I don't want to take any roles right now. But they called me and I was like, well, I'll make a little bit more. And I guess it's a step in a new direction. I'll take the role. Ciao. I took that role. And when I say it was kooky, it was fucking kooky for Cocoa Puffs. Okay. Kooky for Cocoa Puffs. Like, it was strange. And I'm basically saying all of that to say that, like, don't have this false sense that, like, there's more to something than it really is. I, at the same time, could have stayed right where I was at and decided to leave higher education, because anybody who's worked in higher education know that they don't pay you no money at all, child. But the fear at that moment that I had of leaving the safety net of the, higher education network was preventing me from really going out. And honestly, I could have started at the bottom somewhere else, could have been making, 10,000-20,000 more than what I was making in the roles I was in, and then over time would have gotten further along. But simply I was just like, no, I'm gonna do this, da, 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 blah, 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 blah. But it comes from the perspective if you think it's more. And also the funny thing about that, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna leverage it, I'm gonna try to get the most money. I was at a place that they capped. Some large companies or businesses or, institutions do this. They'll cap you out at a certain part. So they won't let you make more than 15%, or they won't let you make more than a certain percentage. So even though I could have negotiated much higher, which eventually I ended up getting more money, but like I could have negotiated much higher, I couldn't, because it really wasn't what I thought it was. Just sending that message. Don't feel like you got to stay in the same place just because. Okay. 10 of Wands, right side up, y'all. Basically, it's saying this is the time to put in the hard work. I don't even think it's saying you are sitting and reflecting on the hard work. It is saying this is the hard work time, y'all. If you are trying to reskill right now, reskill. If you are in a position in which you have these group of people around you, friendships, and you don't feel like it's your vibe, go out and start meeting new people, have new environments, and actually do things that you feel connected to or you feel called to. Just get out there and do it. Like, that's really the energy, because once things are shaken up, you want to be closer to your end destination than where you were previously, because everybody else is going to feel some type of way. It's funny. It's like when you leave a role and then you hear later on that people do weird stuff, and then you're just no longer impacted. You just laugh at it. And then you're like, wow, this person could leave too if they wanted to. They're not going to. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. Just people will give you the office politics or something like that, and then you won't stand for it. They're looking at you like you're acting cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and then you see people around you who feel the same way as you do. You take action, you move on, you leave, and then you start to see other people still being kind of like put in, or kind of at the mercy of the plight of like, or the intention of whatever that weird ass system was, never questioning the system, never questioning why do they have these dynamics? Well, it works out for them. A lot of times they're trying to have like self-preservation, and sometimes people make things harder on themselves just so it looks like they're doing some job. It's not. Somebody told me a really good mantra the other day. They were like, look, I approach this and I have a mantra. I say, what's your mantra? They're like, every day I say, we're not curing cancer here. And I'm like, that's a good ass mantra. It's not like, people in higher education, especially in higher education operations, and a lot of different roles have this too, where they think things are much more serious than what it actually is. It's not that serious, it's not, but you just emotionally and mentally feel like it's more serious than what it is. That 9 of Swords in the middle of the night, it's really not. It's okay. Queen of Wands. Oh, Lord. Things are looking up, y'all. Things are looking up. So by breaking these habits, having the uncomfortable moment of pushing yourself outside of these environments, whether it is family, friendships, the type of relationships, the type of working relationships you have, you are then, this is you. You, this, in a very gender neutral way. You, this is you then understand later on how you had the control all along in what it is you were able to do. You no longer see the world this way. You see it from a perspective of like everything that you wanted, it was in your power to get, as long as you had good emotional balance as you went across the process. So this journey really is a journey of like having adequate mental health and emotional health support. So if you have access to those resources, I always encourage people to take that, and just even having a collection with community to be able to do that too, because you never know, being able to have that connection with other people, how it drastically changes how you're able to do things. Another thing is the 7 of Cups. Not everything that glitters is gold. You're going to start changing the way that you perceive success. Maybe your success before was you work hard for 7 years to get into this place and and then you realize like, wow, you could actually, reskill and get there in a year and go somewhere else and do it. So you start to change really what you focus on. 3 of Cups. All about surrounding yourself by the correct community. Make sure you have the correct community. Make sure you are surrounding yourself by people with growth mentalities, because those are the people that are going to vibrate at your frequency. You're going to start to notice the plight of how people used to be, like what I was just talking about before, where it's just like you leave something, you look back and you're like, wow, like you're an amazing person, but you're not letting yourself be as free. And then it gives you an opportunity to reflect on things. And then there's this energy of both the Knight of Cups and the 2 of Swords. There's going to be this moment where you see in other people their own blockages of how things used to be. And you're like, wow, that could have been me. Like you really feel that way. You're like, that could have been me. Thankfully, you were not afraid to be uncomfortable for a little bit in order to go in the direction that you needed to go to. And if you wanted to boil this all down, it was 2 things. It was the judgment aspect. Don't judge yourself. And also the last aspect, which is face your fears. Face your fears. A lot of times your fears aren't even that scary when you go through it, but it is really the mental aspect of building the mania, of building up internally that creates much more fear than actual fear warrants in those situations. So your future self is sending the message that it's like, look, I'm sending you a warning. Things are going to be shifting and changing. So just allow things to fall into place. Just be ready to like the ocean tide or the wave is coming. And you're like, okay, this is the moment that you're going to jump over the wave if you're tall enough, or you're going to go under the water so that you don't get that full impact. And the universe is whispering, be grateful. Be grateful the universe is whispering in this moment. So go ahead and share what your experiences are. Go ahead and share, what came up for you during this reading. You never know whose life you could change or how you could just feel better about your own life by sharing that out with the community, the collective. Also, take a moment to think about what is something that you would say to yourself 10 years ago, like or like in the past or whatever, like you're in a position now where it's like you see how far you have come and you're about to have this new transition. Sometimes it's easier to be receptive to the messages coming from the future when you can understand like, oh, that's where I was in the past. And, you were telling yourself this. And also, we have extended reads. The extended reads are available on Patreon on the Reiki Healing Hope Patreon. There's an Array Tarot tier, and I believe in financial accessibility is $3.33 a month. Baby, you cannot beat that with the bat. What do you get? Every week, you get a weekly card channeling session for all of the signs just to see what's coming up for you that week. Okay, Aries all the way to Pisces, and for the same price. If you wanted that, and plus you wanted a community in which they are developing their, mystical, magical, energetic abilities. We do all kinds of things. It is a collective. You can join the family tier too. Again, it's the same price. Maybe you just want the Ray Tarot, or maybe you want the full experience, bringing them all together. Okay, and you can use the link in the description box, but I will see you next time.